All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're opening up the complete toolbox for SQL, which is, one of the most powerful languages in technology. We're going to break down all its commands into these simple, practical toolkits that anyone can really get their head around. So let's get started.
Just think about that for a second. The scale is absolutely mind-boggling, right? How does a gigantic system like that keep track of every single item, every click, every single shipment, without just collapsing into total chaos? Well, it's not magic. It's a really well-organized database that's managed by a very specific set of tools. And that's exactly what we're going to do. The best way to really understand these tools is to actually use them. So for this explainer, we're going to build our very own data house from the ground up, and we'll use a different SQL toolkit for each stage of the construction.
First things first, every project needs a blueprint. And in the world of data, that blueprint is made with our very first toolkit, DDL, which stands for Data Definition Language. This is where we lay the foundation and actually design the structure of our house.
So here's the crucial point to remember about DDL. It doesn't care about the actual data yet. The people, the products, the orders, not yet. It's all about creating the containers, the tables, the very architecture where all that data is eventually going to live.
So these are basically the main tools in our architect's bag. We use create to build something brand new, alter to change a structure that's already there, drop to completely demolish it, truncate to empty it out, and rename to, well, you guessed it, rename it. Pretty simple and super powerful.
And this is a perfect way to picture that very first step. When a company decides it needs to start tracking its employees, a database admin or a backend engineer will run a create table command. This one action carves out a special space in the database and defines exactly what columns it's going to have, like name, salary, department, you name it. And just like that, our house has its walls.
Okay, now pay attention to this one, because this is a classic technical interview question. What is the difference between truncate and drop? Using our house metaphor, it's actually pretty easy to remember. Truncate is like kicking everybody out and removing all the furniture. The house itself is still standing, it's just completely empty inside. Drop, on the other hand, drop brings in the wrecking ball. It demolishes the entire structure, foundation, walls, everything. It's gone.
All right, so our foundation is poured and the walls are up. Now it's time for the next toolkit. Our data house has been framed out by DDL, but it's totally empty. So now it's time to furnish it. And for that, we need DML, Data Manipulation Language.
This is where we finally get to the good stuff, the actual information. DML commands are all about putting data into our tables, changing that data when we need to, and getting rid of it when it's old. We're basically moving on from architecture to interior design.
And the commands themselves are super intuitive. Insert is how we add new stuff, like putting a brand new couch in the living room. Update is for changing things around, like moving that couch to a different wall. Delete gets rid of the old furniture you just don't want anymore. And merge, merge is a pretty clever tool for syncing up your furniture with a list from somewhere else entirely.
And this is not some obscure thing that rarely happens. Every single time you sign up for a service, or you create a profile, or buy something online, a DML command, almost always insert, is firing off behind the scenes. Your information is being added as a new row in a massive table. This is truly the lifeblood of any app you use.
Okay, so our house is built, it's full of furniture, but what's the point of all that if you can't find anything? That brings us to our third toolkit, DQL, which is Data Query Language. This is how we ask questions and, more importantly, get answers.
What's so cool about DQL is just how simple it is. While the other toolkits have a whole bunch of commands, DQL really only has one, select. But do not let that fool you. Select is, without a doubt, the most powerful and most widely used command in all of SQL. It can answer almost any question you can possibly think to ask it.
So, how does it work? Well, let's build a query together, step by step. We'll start with the simplest question you can ask. Just show me everything. The command select star from employees basically translates to select all the columns you have from the employees table. This is our starting point, our big picture view.
But usually, you want something a little more specific, right? So let's add a filter. By adding a where clause, we can really narrow down the results. Now we're asking a smarter question. Show me only the employees who are making more than $60,000.
And for the final touch, let's make the results actually useful. By adding order by, we can sort the output.
So now our full query gives us this nice, clean, organized list of our top earners, sorted from the highest salary to the lowest. And that's how you turn raw data into a meaningful report.
So we've built our house, we've furnished it, and we've figured out how to find things inside. Now for the last and maybe most critical step, setting the house rules. And this is where our last two toolkits, DCL and TCL, come into play. They're all about security and safety. First up, security. DCL, or Data Control Language, is basically the security guard for our data house. It's not about the structure or the data itself, but about who is allowed to do what. Just think of it like handing out keys. Some people might get a master key that opens every door, while others can only get into the living room. And here's a perfect real-world example of why DCL is so important. A data analyst absolutely needs to see the sales data to build reports, but you definitely don't want them to accidentally change or delete it. So the grant command lets an administrator give them a view-only key. This protects the integrity of the company's most important information. It's a huge deal. And last but not least, safety. TCL, or Transaction Control Language, is our safety net. Its whole job is to manage transactions, which are just operations that have multiple steps. And TCL works on a really simple but powerful principle. Either every single step succeeds, or the entire operation is undone like it never, ever happened. It's all or nothing. The classic example for this is a bank transfer. I mean, think about it. You cannot have a situation where money leaves one account but never arrives in the other one. That would be a complete disaster. So a transaction wraps these two steps together. If both of them succeed, the change is saved permanently with a commit. But if anything at all goes wrong, say the power cuts out after step 2, the entire thing is undone with a rollback. The money is safe, and the database stays consistent.
So we have now explored the entire SQL toolbox. We've built a house, we've furnished it, we've learned how to find things, and we've set the rules. But the question is, who actually uses these different toolkits in their day-to-day jobs?
This is what ties it all together. You can see how each command type connects to a real job. DDL, that's the world of database admins and back-end engineers, the people building the systems. DML is used all the time by the applications themselves. DQL is the daily bread and butter for data analysts and business intelligence engineers. DCL is managed by security admins. And TCL is the critical backbone for any industry dealing with sensitive stuff, like banking and e-commerce.
See? Each toolkit has its own clear purpose, its own specific job. But together, they form the complete set of tools you need to build, manage, and secure the data that pretty much powers our entire world.